So it has come to my attention that Nina Turner, you know, had an interview recently with Jordan Sheraton. And the topic of Nina Turner running for president, possibly as a third party candidate, that topic did come up. And I did notice that Nina Turner sounded very different in this interview than she did in the interview with Humanist Report. So I want to start with that interview first, because I want to remind you what she said back then. And then I want to show you what she's saying now. Now, this is not to say that people can't change. This is from Neoliberal Tears. But I want to remind you what was said and why some people decided they were hopping off the Nina train. So let's go back.
Understand it. It's okay to be disappointed, but the squad is ultimately the best that we have in terms of being able to push an agenda. And what that means is that you might not always agree with the methods. I need people to understand that when you are on the inside, it doesn't mean that you are selling out. I know they've gotten a lot of pressure, but they are the ones up there holding it down. They're pushing as hard as they can. And just because things are not going exactly the way, just because they're not using the exact tactics that some in the activist community want them to use, that doesn't mean that you throw them away. Because guess what? If you're throwing away members of the squad who are our best opportunity to get what we need, and also some members of that progressive caucus, then you're not going to have anybody there. So if the prerequisite, in summation, if the prerequisite for relationship means that I have to do, or the squad has to do everything you say, the way you say do it, then there's not much of a relationship at all. And that you're going to be disappointed. Hell, they're going to be disappointed with me.
Yeah, and that was the line right there that rubbed some people the wrong way. I agree with you, Anthony, because that did not age well. Remember, this was before the squad became strikebreakers. But now Nina Turner does sound different. And I want to play this because I think this is the Nina Turner that I think people thought that they were getting when she ran for office. So I want to play some of this. I'll comment in between, and then we're going to take a look at that poll because I'm curious to see what you guys said. I didn't peek at it this time. I usually peek at it before I go live. I didn't. But let's get into it.
Consider running as an independent rather than in the Democratic primary if you ran?
I would consider that. Absolutely, I would. All options are on the table.
I know you're going to be mad, but hey, have to follow up. Obviously, a couple months after that, maybe emotions are less raw. But I think whether you run or not, clearly you feel it. The progressive movement is a little bit in the wilderness right now. It's looking for leaders. It's looking for somebody to challenge what seems to be a continuation of the same old, same old. Have you decided on what you're doing next? Are you considering running? And if so, how would you do it?
I haven't made any decisions yet, Jordan. You didn't have to do that, although I knew that you would, knowing the way that I do. You didn't have to do that, but you went there. No, I haven't made any decisions, but you are absolutely right. If we continue on this course, not much is going to change. What this Congress and this president, by way of example, did to the rail workers to chill everybody, every worker in this country. They came for the rail workers, and that they are the personification of every other worker in this country. Voting rights went nowhere. George Floyd Policing Act went nowhere.
Didn't I tell you guys before the breaking the railroad strike? That was the big one for people. I know people that were AOC stands. When that one happened, they said, nope, can't do this anymore.
Act went nowhere. They let the child tax credit expire after pulling children out of poverty. You catapult them right back into poverty. They letting companies like Moderna get away with highway robbery, literally. That drug, the drug that we use for the COVID vaccination was created by the taxpayers' dollars, but yet these fools are going to get a chance to up the price to $130 when it costs $2 and some change to make, and they were only charging the federal government about $26. they are allowing, through the lack of pushing public policies that change material conditions, this kind of suffering to go on. And so, yeah, somebody got to challenge, or a group of somebody's have to challenge. And you're right, the progressive movement is in the wilderness and they can't be there too much longer. And it does.
Did you guys hear that? So I think this is the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first time I heard Nina Turner say that publicly, that the progressive movement is in the wilderness. And it also kind of sounded like even Jordan during this interview, it kind of sounded like he was starting to acknowledge some of these things too. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that now some people are, or maybe not so much that they didn't acknowledge it before, but that they're doing so publicly now? Why do you think that that's happening? You can't just say it's because of Jimmy Dore. I don't think it's just because of Jimmy Dore. I think a lot of people are tired of doing this strategy. And I think more people have been more vocal about it. I'll say that. Let's go on.
Call on people, not just one person, Jordan, but a group of people who have the type of courage to continue to challenge the system. And part of challenging that system is actually running for that seat. Another way to challenge the system is to keep pushing for third parties in this country, ranked choice voting and other things that we could use as tools until we get there. The vast majority of the voters, as you know, Jordan, you have reported on this in the past, do not subscribe to the duopoly. They don't.
I mean, right there for a minute, Nina Turner sound like me. To push for third parties. The majority of voters are independents. They do not support the duopoly. The majority of voters are independent. That sounds like something I would have said. What is happening? Let's go on.
Oh, they want another option. And especially if you ask millennials and Zs, they definitely know that this is not working.
And let me ask you, whether it would be you or somebody else, what are your thoughts? Because you see that so many people are, I mean, beyond done with the Democratic Party. You just went down the list of what they're not doing. I agree with you.
See, I think they see it now. They see it now. Look, I know I have not been nice in reference to AOC, the rest of the squad, Bernie Sanders. I know I haven't been nice. Look, those candidates, or excuse me, those politicians, when they were candidates, they got a lot of money out of me. Bernie Sanders got the most money. They got my time. They got my energy. And I really thought they were going to go in and change things. I could sit here and criticize Republicans all day long, but I never thought any of them were actually going to do those things. And they never said that they would. And I ain't give them no money. But I noticed they're starting to see it now. Like a lot of people are like, nah, we're not doing this again.
Do you feel that, you know, not to say nobody should ever run as a Democrat again, but do you think if you were going to do it, do you put any stock in the idea of, listen, the odds are very long that a third party candidate on this day could win the presidency, but somebody needs to start that movement on the presidential level. What do you think for that argument that we're never going to do it if nobody tries, but we know what will happen within the Democratic Party?
It's interesting the way that this is framed, and this is not to, you know, not to come after, I'm not trying to attack Jordan, but I've noticed this framing in reference to someone running as a third party candidate. It's framed in a way as though this has never been done before. And it's been done. Jill Stein, Ralph Nader, Ross Perot. Ross Perot probably got the closest to actually making a real change, because like I think he did hurt George H. Bush. George H. Bush was the incumbent. So I think he took a lot. I think he got like 18% of the vote. 18% of the vote, right? So the framing is weird to me. Like when people say that framing just rubs me the wrong way. It has been done before. Now, has anyone been successful to the point to get on the debate stage since Ross Perot? Well, no. So maybe they mean it in that way. But It's weird. It's kind of weird to me when people say start a third party, because we have third parties. It's just framed in a way that makes it sound like it hasn't been done. So that's the part that's kind of weird to me. But listen to what she says.
Sure, you know what you laid out there is exactly right. Somebody or a group of somebodies do have to start it somewhere. We know that because of the duopoly, and both duopolies answer to one master, and that's their owner donors, period. The corporate wings of both of these parties, Republicans and Democrats, are failing the workaday people of this nation, and they need options. So there are people, I mean, we got the Working Families Party, even though it's not national in nature, you know, they're primarily in New York, they're here in Ohio, they're in different states. I mean, that to me is a really good template. We know that, and our brother Andrew Yang has started something as well.
You guys hear the talking points now? This is very different from the clip that I played you previously, the one from before, from about a year ago. This is totally different. In that other clip, she was totally defending the squad, saying they're holding it down, even after they wouldn't endorse her the second time that she ran. Well, AOC came in with that last minute endorsement, kind of like a nightcap. Here's that nightcap. Anyway, she was defending them there. And when she lost the second campaign, she was defending them there too. She said that they were pressured. They said that they were threatened, things like that. Not this time around. Now is very different. She even mentioned Andrew Yang's party, which you guys know how I feel about Forward Party. We already talked about that. I'm not trying to rock with another centrist joint. Okay, I don't want to go to those centrist parties. Not trying to move further that way. But you know, this just sounds like a different person. This really does sound like a different person. I skipped over what I was going to say. Shoot, balls.
Somebody needs to start that movement on the presidential level. What do you think for that argument that we're never going to do it if nobody tries, but we know what will happen within the Democratic Party?
Well, George, you know what you laid out there is exactly right. Somebody or a group of somebodies do have to start it somewhere. We know that because of the duopoly, and both duopolies answer to one master, and that's their owner donors, period. The corporate wings of both of these parties, Republicans and Democrats, are failing the workaday people of this nation, and they need options. So there are people, I mean, we got the Working Families Party, even though it's
Working Families Party. That's the piece I wanted to touch on. I disagree with her about the Working Families Party. I have to make this very clear, because there were a couple of progressive candidates that were a part of the Working Families Party, and the Working Families Party endorsed their corporate Democrat opponents. Imani Oakley was one of those people that was affected that way. What I found about the Working Families Party is it seems like they mainly just funnel people back into the Democratic Party. Like the Working Families Party supported Chuck Schumer, right, in New York. So they have been known to kind of screw over progressive candidates that are running and back the corporate Democrat. That's the thing about them, though.
It's not national in nature. You know, they're primarily in New York, they're here in Ohio, they're in different states. I mean, that to me is a really good template. We know that, and our brother Andrew Yang has started something as well. We need more people to start these kinds of things and to challenge the system. And yes, somebody is going to have to take the plunge and to run nationally as an independent. I don't think we're that far from people doing that, because people.
She says somebody is going to have to take the plunge and run nationally as an independent. What is happening here? What's happening? When I said these things, I was criticized left and right. What's the shift? Kit. Hardlands Media says, geez, I actually shouldn't assume this is always Kit. It could be Daniel. It could be someone else. But I think it's probably Kit. But you guys see what I'm saying? I don't know.
People are disgusted. And I tell you this, if they take away, if they scale back in any way, Medicare and Social Security, they're going to have a problem on their hands, the likes of which they have not seen in modern times. I really do believe that that will be the genesis to push more people to do what we see our sisters and brothers and family and friends do. Jordan.
Hardland says, this is beyond sad. Nina is now saying to run independent. Exactly. Like, because this is what we've been saying to do. This is what we've been saying to do. And I want to explain to people who don't understand the strategy. The idea is that you would absolutely win running as an independent or third party candidate. But let's be real, you're probably not going to win running as a progressive Democratic candidate either, because the DNC will just rig it so that you don't win. The idea for the third party independent strategy is that you pull people away from the Democratic Party. This is why it's very important to do what Roger and Lucy were doing, actually hitting the ground and registering people as independents. Now, some of you say, my friends are diehard liberals and they support the Democratic Party regardless who the candidate is. Okay, so you may not be able to flip them. But don't just focus on them. Focus on non-registered voters. Focus on people who don't usually vote. Go get those people and register them as independents. Get the younger people. More of the younger people, they understand. You know, they're willing to be a little bit more bold. You know? But I think if you're looking at it as though this person has to win and our only best chances of doing that is to have someone run as a progressive Democrat, even though I argue against that strategy too, because like I said, we can't ignore the elephant in the room, which is that the Democratic Party, the DNC, is going to find a way to rig it. They cheat Bernie Sanders 2 election cycles in a row. They'll find a way to make it so that that candidate doesn't get in. And, you know, I think Marianne Williamson is probably going to do that path. I don't know for sure, but it's probably going to do that path. But she's going to run into the same problem that Bernie Sanders ran into. And so that's why I'm saying there's a big, giant elephant in the room. And I feel like nobody wants to try to tackle that elephant. You know, like, how do you get the elephant to move out of the room? Have you ever tried to pick up an elephant's tuft? You can't pick up his foot. You can't do it. But there's this big elephant that's in the room. And I feel like when people keep saying this is our best chance, Bernie Sanders got to the 5-yard line. Yeah. So you think the next person that does the same thing Bernie Sanders do is actually going to make it to the finish line? If they stop Bernie Sanders at the 5-yard line, you think they're going to let the next person even get to the 5-yard line this time around? No, they're going to get tackled probably on the 20-yard line right after they punt the ball to that team. They're going to start to run. They're going to get tackled right there at the 20-yard line. They already know the game now. They already know, wait a minute, someone like Bernie Sanders got way too close, got way too much support, grassroots donations, thousands of people at his rallies. We can never let that happen again. That's what I'm saying. Like, how do you stop that? And this is Bernie Sanders' fault. This is Bernie Sanders' fault for not calling out the Democratic Party for what it was after they cheated him 2 times in a row. This is Bernie's fault. He should have called out the Democratic Party and he should have continued with this movement and say, listen, new strategy. We all going to push third party and independent candidates. That's what should have happened. But Bernie Sanders led us down this path. And then he pieced out and decided to become buds with the Democrat establishment and just left us high and dry. That's why we're in the situation that we're in right now. Sorry, but he needs to take full blame and full responsibility for that.
I mean, the man said he was going to up the retirement age by 2 years from 62 to 64. Millions of them took to the streets instantly. It didn't take a whole lot because they are very cognizant of what they deserve. And that people deserve to be able to retire at an age where they still can enjoy their lives and not retire with your back broken down. See, we got to get that kind of firepower in the United States of America. And this is going to take a few people to light that spark, Jordan. But I think we are right there as a nation. The tinderbox is right there. We got to keep pushing. And I'm certainly committed to being one of those leaders. As you know, I am a Democrat. Every office I've ran for as a Democrat, I'm a member of the DNC from the great state of Ohio. But it does not stop me from challenging these people and telling the truth about what they are doing and what they are not doing, Jordan. And at some point, the Democratic Party has to care that neo-fascism is right at our door. Neo-fascism kills you quickly. Neoliberalism kills you slowly. But neo-fascism is a product of neoliberalism. And if
it sounds like she's been listening to me. Like, this sounds like something I would say. It really does. But again, like when I said these things last year, I was smeared all over social media. I think we all knew this though, right? We all knew that something had to change. Like we had to do something different. So it sounds like she was saying that she could be that person, but she's not going to announce anything right now. But it sounds like she could be willing to be that person. Now, let me ask you this question. What happens if Nina Turner runs as an independent or third party candidate and Marianne Williamson is also running, but running as a progressive through the Democratic Party? What happens? Does that split the vote for the left? We're going to look at this poll because I want to see what you guys said. I'm curious. Here are the poll results. Over 514 votes. Would you vote for Nina Turner for president? Yes, if she ran as a Democrat is 4%. Yes, only as a third party candidate is 33%. And no for Dem or third party. So no, regardless if she ran as a Democrat candidate or if she ran as a third party candidate. 41% of you said no, regardless. And 22% said not sure. So I hope Nina Turner would see this, like this poll. Those of you who know Nina like that, you might want to show her this poll. Because what's interesting is 33% said yes if she ran third party. Only 4% said yes if she ran as a Democrat. So if you know Nina like that, you should show her those poll results. Pretty based, huh? Christian said RBN pushing them further to the left is what it is, or I would like to imagine. I don't even know if it's necessarily just us. I mean, we do have pretty loud voices. we can be pretty loud. But I don't know. I think it's you guys too. I think it's, friends of the show. Like, I think sometimes you guys have mentioned these things, maybe like in their live chats or maybe on their comments, like for their videos saying like, look, we're not doing this anymore,